Hey guys, John here. So today I came across a post on Reddit that I found rather sad. So I think we should talk about this a little bit. So yeah, let's go into it here. So basically, the title is called I Fell Out of Love with Music, which I mean, that is just sad in a sense, but let's read what he has to say here. So it says, for the longest time, I wanted to be a singer, but didn't have the money to spend on it. So I started producing it myself. It took me a year to reach a point where I can confidently produce a beat within a day. But now, after listening to thousands of songs, failing and starting again, the spark is gone. After producing any beat and just sit there and say, yeah, whatever. Also, the isolation, dude, it has killed the person who I was, so I quit. Dude, I really admire the people who actually made it. You guys really deserve it all. Also, thanks to this community who has helped me in this journey. Okay, so first of all, man, that is heartbreaking. So I kind of want to, if the poster, whoever posted this is listening, there's a couple things I kind of wanted to address in your situation, right? So the first one, I fell out of love with music. Now, I know you write that, but I mean, there's a reason we all fell in love in the beginning. And I don't know if it's that easy to just fall out of love with it. Maybe there's some struggles, maybe there's some things in our lives that kind of distract us at points, but there's still something about music that will always impact us, whether it's a really nice movie that has an impactful soundtrack, whether it's a song that's perfectly exactly describing what you're living through in your life. Maybe there's that. So I feel like there's always this general love with music. So if we go into this first line here, so for the longest time, I wanted to be a singer, but I didn't have the money to spend on it. Now, that's understandable. I mean, a lot of the stuff within music production can be expensive. Whether in your case, if you're a singer, there's the microphones, there's the interface. Okay, what kind of preamps do you have? Okay, what room are you recording in? Do you need singing lessons to get a little bit better than you already are? So there is a lot of monetary things out there that can kind of be kind of a bummer to not have, especially when you have this passion to be a singer, right? So then he says, I started producing music or producing it myself, which is a great alternative. That's exactly what you should have done. It took me a year to reach a point where I can confidently produce a beat within a day. Okay, that right there is a milestone. And 1 year, that's a relatively short time. For me personally, to like anything that I've ever done was way longer than 1 year. I'd probably say almost like 7 or 8 years because people have different speeds of getting better and learning. So if you can take a year's time and then you produce a beat within a day, that is pretty good. So credit where credit is due. I wouldn't overlook that. That's a very short amount of time to be good at anything, right? Let's say you want to pick up a new skill, you want to be a welder, right? And you're a good welder in a year. That's still pretty amazing. And then this next one it says, but now after listening to thousands of songs, failing and starting again, the spark is gone. Now this is the part I don't necessarily understand. Failing, that's almost said as a bad thing. Failing, that should be a good thing in the sense that if we're making something and we fail, we say, okay, we know where we failed at, we know what we did wrong. So by knowing that, we can know what to target to become better. We don't just become good at something just by the first time we try. We have to fail to get better, then we have to fail again. You have to keep failing and keep failing and keep failing. I think there was this quote, it might have been Edison or something like that, where he just said, I figured out 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb, right? So it's kind of like that concept that you have to fail to try again, to get better and fail and get better. Look at any person that's great out there in the world. They have failed countless times, but we only see the greatness that they eventually become because through those failures, that's how you actually get better. So I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing again. And then you say, and starting again. That's exactly what you should do, right? So fail, start again, fail, start again. When you see a baby trying to walk or crawl, they're not going to be running a marathon. They have to start crawling, then get up. They're going to fall. They're going to get up. They're going to fall, and eventually they figure it out and start running, and so on and so forth. I think you get the idea in that sense. And then it says the spark is gone. So I don't know necessarily in your situation if it's because you're failing and starting feels like it's almost like a loop, like you're just kind of failing, starting. There's nothing really progressing. Maybe you don't see that, and maybe that's why the spark is gone. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. After producing any beat and just sit there and say, yeah, whatever. So we've all probably done that, right? We make this 8 or 16 bar loop, and first it's kind of cool, and then we sit there and like, whatever, right? And then maybe trash it or start on something new. Little do I think we know is that every time we do that, we exercise our brain. We start kind of really getting into the rhythm. We do things over and over. This repetition that makes us either get faster or we might learn something new throughout the process. So not every 8, 16 bar or beat or song or whatever is necessarily whatever, maybe in the sense that we don't personally feel attached to it as much, but we still gain something from actually doing something and putting in the work. And then he writes, also the isolation, dude, it has killed the person who I was. Okay, this part I can kind of agree with because, yes, music production, sound design, that can be very isolating for sure. We're sitting there most of the time by ourselves with our headphones on, maybe in our studio, and we're just trying to put some music together, something that'll move us and maybe somebody else, and we're just trying to play something that we like, and there's really nobody around that can really be in your head at the same time while you're making this creation. I think that's just part of art within itself, whether you're a sculptor, whether maybe you're writing a story, maybe you're an author. I mean, it's a very lonely thing because it's lonely in the sense that when you're writing it, you're kind of by yourself putting something together. And it's also lonely sometimes for the person listening to it at maybe 2 in the morning with their headphones on, listening to the work that you did. But there's also something amazing in that where, let's say you're writing this track and it's isolating for you. It's really quiet. Everyone's gone to sleep and you're putting this thing together for somebody out there, maybe for you as well, but maybe for somebody out there who's kind of feeling the same thing that you are. And then who knows, maybe a while later after it's released, somebody out there in the world puts on their headphones and they're feeling what you felt at that time. They put their headphones on and it's almost like this connection that's almost past the realm of time, which is very interesting. I know that gets kind of deep, but that is a real thing, right? Because we've all felt that with other music and bands and artists out there. We listen to their music and we almost feel exactly what they're feeling. Now, when they were writing that song, it might have been very lonely for them. And maybe they thought that you're going to listen to it later on and have that same feeling. That's a cool part about music. And he writes, it killed the person who I was. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you looked at it. Some music has saved people from being their worst selves. Some people have taken on music and they've lost touch with everything else and kind of just went into that and let everything else fall. So there's always a balance there. So in this sense, I would imagine that this is a bad thing, that it's killed the person who I was. And this is kind of why I talk sometimes in other videos where sometimes you need to take breaks to reorientate yourself, go for a walk, look outside, maybe shut your computer off for a little while and take a break, focus on life a little bit, and then come back to it with inspiration, because some of the great songs and music out there are written from true emotion that we experience out there in the real world. So if it's just isolation and you're not getting any external things inside your world, then it's going to be very hard to translate that into music to create a song or a track or something with that. And then he writes here, so I quit, which I hope you don't quit, because the work that you put in, the time that you spent is worth something. And I'm sure there's something in your catalog that other people out there in the world can resonate with, or that might help somebody through maybe a difficult time in their life. So I hope one day that you'll look back at this and say, maybe this was just a spot in my journey where I took a break and then I refreshed my mind and then I came back to it. So hopefully you quit for a little bit and you come back to it. And then here at the end, dude, I really admire the people who actually made it. Okay, so this is another concept that kind of struck me kind of weird. What is defined as making it? Because some people can define making it as maybe music is your career, you pay all of your money with music, and that's kind of your entire life, which is very rare. There's a very small sliver of the people who can live 100% off music. And if you do, that's great. And I know a lot of people are striving to get there. Now, that could necessarily be like making it. That can maybe be, at least for me, is the enjoyment of it, right? It's art at the end of the day. When you're creating a patch, when you're creating a song, when you're putting a beat together, when you're making whatever it is you're making, that's art. Now, depending on how we determine as making it, maybe making it means that you get to a point where you like what you create. Maybe you like the song so much that you put it on your phone and you put it in your car, and when you listen to it when you're driving somewhere, or you listen to it with headphones in a different spot, and your corners of your mouth kind of go down and you nod, you say, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to make. Maybe that's making it, because that's a fantastic feeling. Maybe making it is something entirely different to you. So I feel like this concept of making it is kind of elusive in the sense that, sure, it could be making all your money off music, but really it's an art form. It's a creative outlet for a lot of people. There's people out there who have made it in the sense that they have enough money. They don't need to work anymore to live more comfortable than they already do. They have the cars they need. They have food. They have shelter. They have everything they need in life, but still they like to play music. They like to go away for a while, play with their synthesizers, make a song. Not necessarily to quote unquote make it because it makes them feel good. And in my opinion, that is making it, because if you make something you like, you learn and you progress, that feels like making it. That feels more rewarding than just getting like money deposited into your account because you spent some time in the studio, because after a while it's going to take the magic out of the music and it's just going to turn it into a business, hence music business. So at the end here he writes, you guys really deserve it all. Also thanks to this community who helped me in this journey. And that's probably the saddest thing in that sense. You guys really deserve it all. Now, I don't know exactly what he's trying to say here, but then he goes and says, also thanks to this community who helped me in this journey. And that's really cool because at the end of the day, we're all a community. See, in the beginning, you kind of wrote the isolation, but at the end, thanks to the community. So there are other people out there. So we're kind of all alone together, if that makes any sense. And it's cool for the people who helped along this journey, maybe who posted things on Reddit or helped people with, I don't know, how to make an arrangement, how to improve your stuff. That's helpful for everybody. That's one of the reasons that got me into doing this, is I like helping people because I've been at that very spot where you look at a synth and you're like, what on earth is this machine? So in that sense, this whole post kind of struck a nerve because, man, it's sad because you spend so much time and effort and you get into music, which is, there's nothing really to describe that feeling that you get when those chords hit just right, or that downbeat, or that chorus that you make, or the sound. You can't describe it in words unless you actually feel it. So I know you have felt it. So I guess if you're ever listening to this at all, maybe reset your life a little bit, take a break, do your own thing, put music to the side for now, and just remember that it's going to be there waiting for you. And when you come back to it, there's going to be a lot of updates to plugins. There's going to be new packs out there. There's going to be whole new concepts out there, new workflows. So that's something that maybe you can look forward to. So hopefully this isn't the end for you. Hopefully it's just a break. And if anybody else is kind of going through this, I think we all have at some point, and where we just kind of like take off our headphones and just lose the motivation and the fun of it. And that will happen. That's part of that journey. That's going to happen. Expect that to happen right here in the middle, failing and starting again. You're supposed to fail. You're supposed to start again. You're supposed to fail. That's part of growing. So yeah, thank you for sticking through this whole video. I know it's kind of a long one. It's a little bit of a different format, but I couldn't get this post out of my head. And I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this as well. Did you go through this? Did you fail? Did you start again? Did you fail? Did you start again? What kept you going to the point where you're at now? And if you fail again, what's going to be the motivation to keep going? And also, if, like I said earlier, if the poster's watching this, what would you want to say to him? I think a lot of the comments in Reddit were actually pretty well written and made a lot of good points. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.